Sure. Thanks to everybody for being here today at our 2021-22 engineering fair. My name is Jennifer Wetzel. I'm the regional coordinator of the Philadelphia Future City competition. And our first speaker today, well, first of all, let's just go back one step. We're trying to focus today on this year's competition challenge, which is design a waste-free city that uses the principles of a circular economy. So our first speaker today is Mark Ginsberg. Mark is the principal of Ginsberg Green Strategies. He's also a senior fellow at the USGBC. Ginsberg Green Strategies provides consulting services on eco-cities, energy efficiency, renewable energy, and the green economy. In 2012, the U.S. Green Building Council designated Mark as the first USGBC senior fellow, where he serves as a senior policy advisor and ambassador. He also pursues advanced energy technologies from innovative energy efficiency and renewables to seawater agriculture, solid waste, and wave energy. He continues to address global policy, including climate, urban development, and the green economy. Thanks, Mark, for being here this morning. Take it away.
Well, thanks so very much for the chance to join all of you. I'm delighted to see everyone. Students, I hope you're all settled in and ready to have a terrific day as you start this special project. I'm really impressed that you take time out of your Saturday on Halloween weekend to do this project, and that you want to spend your time to help make the world a better place. Look, I understand that looking out 100 years is a big challenge. Taking on a big topic like zero waste is a big challenge. Science fiction authors have been talking about the future for a long time. What you have the challenge to do is really deal with science fact, and how do you deal with issues of great importance as we deal with a growing world challenge. So today I'm going to try to share some of my experience. I hope it helps you and hope that we can have a chance to talk about some of the things on your mind after I make my presentation. You'll have access to all the slides I'm going to present, and you can take advantage of all the tools that I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to talk about some tools that'll help you design a zero waste city of the future. I'll talk about a program called LEED for Cities. I'll talk about the true rating system, and then cradle to cradle. And all of these are going to be available in your resource area when you're able to access that. So don't worry about that. You'll have a chance to see all this material. But I work with the U.S. Green Building Council, so let's start there. U.S. Green Building Council was formed about 25 years ago to transform the way the built environment is designed. There are about 100,000 projects around the world in 170 countries, so that's a pretty good start in transforming the way the built environment is being transformed. I hope you can all agree with our goal of a green building for everyone within this generation. I think it's an ambitious goal, but it's one we want to try to achieve. And I think we can also agree that we all want our buildings and cities to be safe and healthy, inclusive, smart, productive, efficient, equitable, sustainable, responsive, and resilient. These are the kinds of goals you want to try to achieve as you work in your careers and in this project as well. But we began with one of the most important things that I've learned is in my career, and that is what cannot be measured cannot be managed. You have to be able to measure things in order to manage them. Use big data, big analysis to be able to understand where you are so you know where you need to go. And so with that as a starting point, we launched the program called LEED, or Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. LEED is a remarkable program that I say is all around the world. It was an internationally recognized program to present excellence for buildings, communities, and professionals who are transforming the building industry. What we found is through the programs in LEED, we can save a substantial amount of energy, carbon dioxide, water, And the topic of today, the most interest to you, is solid waste. You see that using the LEED strategies, you can achieve 70% of solid waste reduction in buildings, which is a pretty good start for what you're trying to achieve. These are documented savings that we've been able to show over the 20-year life of the program. And the program has had a number of major projects. I like to think about the green giants in New York who are certified as LEED buildings, buildings that you recognize in a city like New York. Chicago green icons, the old Sears Tower and football stadium, Soldier Field. Facebook, Google, Amazon headquarters are all LEED rated and certified. But it's global too. You know, this gorgeous Shanghai Tower, Taipei 101, the Lottie Tower in Seoul, South Korea, Marina Bay Sands Hotel in Singapore are all LEED rated. Petronas Tower in Malaysia and Burj Khalifa in Dubai. These are major icons. Almost all the tallest buildings of the world are LEED rated, which brings warms my heart and makes me so proud. Icons in London and Paris with that iconic buildings in both of those cities. And you may ask, are there LEED buildings in Philadelphia? Well, there certainly are. Both Comcast Center, City Hall, and hundreds of other buildings in Philadelphia are LEED rated as well. But we need to go beyond buildings. We know buildings are important, but it's the entire built environment that we need to deal with. So USGBC began to think about, how do we go beyond? How do we provide aspirational goals for reducing carbon, moving toward zero carbon, zero energy, zero water, and topic of the day, zero waste. And so we created programs that give you both goals and strategies to achieve those ambitious goals. And in your lifetime, I believe we're going to go beyond buildings, beyond zero, into what I call LEED positive, or giving back. Think about it. Buildings that are so energy efficient and that have renewable energy built into them that they can give back to the electric grid and not just take away from it. So during your lifetime, you're going to see that kind of major development and improvement. But let's focus on today. Today, we're going to talk about how do you measure and improve sustainability and quality of life using LEED for cities and communities, so that you can have resource efficient, regenerative, competitive, equitable, resilient, connected, high quality of life cities that we all want to live in, that we can be proud of, that we know are going to be sustainable over the long run. We deal with an integrated way of thinking, and we realize that cities have a great number of activities that are all critically important. Waste obviously is key among them, but we have to think about all the other activities of transportation, energy, the economy, social equity, health, and education. So what LEED for Cities does is integrate all those into a program and provides a way of thinking about it. But I also want you to think about the bigger picture. These are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Waste is a big part of that, but I want you to be able to think that you're part of something bigger than that. There are any number of social equity, economic, environmental issues that are involved. And the UN has created these Sustainable Development Goals as ways to think over the next 10, 20, 50 years so that we can achieve our climate goals as well as economic and social justice goals. So I add that for your background and hope you can see during your lifetimes these goals achieved. But back to LEED for Cities. LEED for Cities is a remarkably powerful tool to help cities design, measure, and track performance. It's a global standard to allow consistent performance measurement for how cities perform. And you also see a website that'll be part of your resource package if you want to go back and find out more information about how each of these cities is addressing some of its problems. It's a data system that accumulates scores across 5 categories. You earn credits if you have energy efficiency, if you address water, have a strong waste management system, deal with transportation, and what we call human factors. We add in things like health and productivity, those kinds of things that are part of our lives that make it important to have a city that's really sustainable, livable, and attractive. These programs are now in over 240 cities that are registered and active with LEED for Cities. And as you can see, it's all around the world. There are projects in cities like Chicago, Washington, and San Jose. You may ask, is Philadelphia a LEED for City? Unfortunately, not yet, although there are a substantial number of LEED projects in Philadelphia. They haven't yet certified to become a LEED for City. And projects like Rockefeller Center already have. Cities that are big and small, Franklin, Tennessee, or a project like Stuyvesant City in New York is a LEED for communities. We've been participating with the Olympics for a long time, and the New York Olympic region in upstate New York is a part, as well as major urban parks like Balboa Park in San Diego. Beautiful world cities like Savona, Italy. Brand new, huge cities like Songdo, South Korea, which incidentally has this pneumatic waste removal system integrated into its new design. That's the kind of thinking that some of the cities are giving as they think about their futures. The King Salman Energy Park is a major new city in the desert with a variety of those integrated pieces that I talked about, including efficient waste management. The new third international airport in Beijing is taking on LEED for Cities as a way to design, manage, and operate that huge region in Beijing. And an entire new region of the Beijing area is about 10 million people being designed with LEED for City principles. So we're delighted to see this kind of application, as well as the Winter Olympics that are coming up. So this winter, when you look at the next Winter Olympics in China, you'll be able to know that it's in a green city certified as LEED. Now, we know those are great accomplishments, but we also know that in order to achieve great goals, we need to change. You may recognize Albert Einstein, brilliant genius, but he pointed out that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We know we have to have new ways of thinking. You can't just keep doing the same thing and expect new results. So we do need a new way of thinking. And my mantra, my way of thinking is everything is a resource, nothing is waste. When you think like this, when you think that everything can be reused or designed to be reused, when you think that nothing is waste, you don't want to send anything to the landfill. You'll be able to find other uses for it. If you think in that way, you can really achieve those ambitious goals that you're going to be designing in your city of the future. This is perhaps the single most important point I would like you to take away from this session. Everything is a resource. Nothing is waste. And so with that, we want to be able to create a solid foundation that advances the integrity and creativity for a zero waste future. And so we created TRUE, the Total Resource Use and Efficiency Platform. It's a program that was designed by professionals in solid waste management, companies, nonprofits, academics, to be able to have a solution to deal with the next generation of solid waste, to give you a way to think about it, to be able to prepare for the future. And in that regard, we are talking about zero waste. Because as I like to say, if you're not for zero waste, how much waste are you for? And how good are you if you're not for zero waste? And so you have that ambitious goal to be able to design a city of the future. We hope to be able to have a tool for you that might be a help to deal with it. So let me really concentrate on this and spend a little bit of time to give you why I think this is so important. Zero waste is a goal. And I'm going to read through this because it's so important. That is ethical, economical, efficient, and visionary in order to guide people in changing their lifestyles and practices to emulate sustainable natural cycles where all discarded materials are designed to become resources for others to use. Everything is a resource, nothing is waste. Zero means designing and managing products and processes to systematically avoid and eliminate the volume and toxicity of waste and materials, to conserve and recover all resources and not burn or bury them. Implementing zero waste will eliminate all discharges to land, water, or air that are a threat to planetary, human, animal, or planet health. Ambitious goals, but important for us to think about because this is truly a global problem. This is a serious issue that I'm so glad you're taking on as part of your challenge because it is critically important. You thought Halloween was scary. These things are really scary, and it's around the world. We all need to deal with it. So we need global strategies to deal with it. Now, the old ways of thinking were reuse, reduce, recycle. I grew up on that. I thought was pretty good. I thought it was a great step forward, and it was. And it was an important way of thinking that really helped. And to have that label on products is so valuable. But we've got to move beyond that. We've got to think about ways to really divert all solid waste from the landfill, from incineration, even waste to energy and the environment. And so there are strategies to deal with that. And among those strategies, you're going to hear a lot about the circular economy and the idea that we need to close the loop of the zero waste economy. And so I'll talk a little bit about this. You're going to hear more about that in the next presentation and through the day. And I know it's going to be a key part of your thinking. So what is the way to close the loop? Well, you need to start designing for the environment, not the dump. Think about designing for the future. In order to do that, you need to sometimes change the rules, change the laws, shift subsidies away from waste into efficiency. You need to think about clean production, be able to have resource recovery parks, and make sure retail stores are all integrated into the solution. You need to make sure that producers take responsibility for their work. And we should all use our consumer buying power so that we can make sure that people know we're going to buy the right things. That'll send a signal to the industry that we want clean products. We want them to clean up their mess. And when you do all of that, you're going to create jobs, jobs, jobs. And so the main part of this is that you can have both a clean environment and a healthy economy. We need both. It's not an either or, it's both and so we can work together to make sure we have a clean environment and a healthy economy. So what do we mean about upstream and downstream? Well, downstream starts with your stores, your homes, your schools, where we use the energy and have solid waste. Upstream is where we want to make sure we have the highest and best use of the resource. You want to have cleaner production. You want to redesign and avoid inefficient practices. You want to have producer responsibility and producer stewardship, so you can have a full cycle, close that cycle, and make sure it's all clean. And then you can begin looking at the hierarchy of use. We used to think that the landfill was the only place you could take things. And then we thought, well, maybe you can incinerate it, burn it. But that became clear that that was unsustainable. So we started recycling and composting, and that was a good step. That's an important step up the hierarchy ladder. But when we really think about it, we need to reuse, repair, and remanufacture. And when you do that, then you've got a chance to go beyond that in order to redesign, to reduce and return products into their original state. So you're not wasting, you're not sending things to the landfill. And so this hierarchy of waste gives you a chance to think about the highest priorities, where you want to spend your time. And when you do all that, you could just imagine over the course of your lives and the course of the project that you're thinking about, how much money could be saved, how much energy could be saved, how many resources. And that's just a more enormous opportunity for you. But in order to do that, we need to redesign, rethink, reduce, reuse, and go beyond recycling. And the good news is there are a number of companies and organizations already doing that. You may be familiar with Tesla. You may even have one in your family, or you've ridden in a Tesla. Well, I can tell you that the Tesla factory was designed with the idea of being really a true contributor to solid waste movement. They, in their huge factory, divert almost 99% of its waste from landfills. They send virtually nothing to the landfill. They send the rest to an incineration waste to energy facility, so they don't end up in the secondary markets. I can also tell you that Tesla is designing their vehicles to have a number of recyclable materials in them. In the olden days, you just send a car out to a dump and you see them out in the desert, cars piled on each other that are just rusting away. Now with this kind of design, with this kind of thinking, you can have cars that are able to be recycled, and parts and materials can be recycled. Other car manufacturers are doing this too, and so it's happening all around the place. But there are other parts of the economy that you can deal with. Hoboken is dealing with food scraps, not just sending food to the landfill or having it put in places that aren't healthy, but being able to put it into composting and be able to put it into more positive, active areas. And so there are some ways of dealing with things like food in order to do that. There are a number of companies doing very positive things around the country. Just the idea that there's a general store that's able to do it, the Walt Disney Agriculture Science Facility, a brewery, a family farm, all have examples of things that they're doing that can help you think about what you might want to do in your project and what might be possible in the course of the next 100 years. There are literally hundreds of companies doing this around the world, big companies, small companies, names you recognize and others, and more to come. And so with that, they're all part of the TRUE certification program. So what is TRUE? What does it do? Well, TRUE is a zero waste certification program which aims to transform the way businesses manage resources and drive the transition toward a circular economy, the thing we're really talking about. The goals of projects are participating in TRUE is to divert all solid waste from the landfill, from incineration and the environment, just what we were talking about. How does it work? Well, True encourages rethinking internal policies, just like we were talking about before, rethinking the way we do things, redesigning business processes in order to view every material as a resource. Everything is a resource, nothing is waste. And when you can focus on the upstream policies and practices, you can help reduce and reuse things to avoid creating waste in the first place. And then you implement a rating system that has credits as strategies that drive operational processes to improve and achieve at least 90% diversion. That's true, that's how it's working, and we're so proud of it that it can work that way. Because we want people to be able to achieve their zero waste goals, cut carbon emissions, and support public health. Now, True is available for virtually any kind of operation. There are any number of commercial bills, educational, government, industrial, nonprofits can all participate in True. There are requirements for True. This is a detailed list. It gets even more detailed, so I won't go through all of it, but recognize that there are minimum requirements. There are points that you can earn for a scorecard, and it is a well thought out, well documented process to be able to know how you're measuring your progress. You put it into a database, you collect all of your data, you have a way to share it so that you can continue to refine it. This is an example of the kinds of details in the True program, the kinds of points you can earn. And behind each of these points are strategies on how do you get to compost, recycle, solid waste purchasing, all those things that are part of this. So you get points for that. And when you gather up your points, you total up and you can become certified silver, gold, or platinum so that you can compare yourself with other projects.
Fernando, move. Fernando, what? I don't hear him.
So the True certification is a rating system that allows you to compare your results. And when you do that, you get a variety of benefits. You can save money, you find yourself progressing faster, you support sustainability, and you improve materials flows. These benefits all come from True when you certify your True program. There are any number of public health, ecological, and economic benefits. Again, a long list that I won't go through, but you can see that it helps you achieve the idea that you can have a healthy economy, a healthy environment, at the same time, help people. Another way of thinking about the kinds of benefits you get, everything from reducing litter to reducing greenhouse gases, all the things you want to achieve in your project and in your lives. So in the True system, on the resource page that you'll find on our website, there are a number of tools available to you, a rating system, a handbook, a guide, as well as the application form that you won't necessarily use, but gives you an idea of how people are addressing these issues. And although it may be a little early in your careers, one of the things that I think is really interesting to think about is that there's a True advisor program, professionals who can show how they are certified to be able to be solid waste managers. And although it may be before you're thinking about your career, it's something that might be in your future. You can join thousands of professionals around the world who are all working to help make the world a better place. And so possible career goal can come out of this. Well, I've talked about a lot of things, and there are a number of wonderful resources available to you. I hope this is helpful as you look at our website and our social media. Again, these are available to you on your resource center, so you'll be able to access them later. So I say to you, finally, with the third tool, Cradle to Cradle is one of my favorite programs. You know the expression cradle to grave, where you only deal with life and then death. This goes cradle to cradle all the way around and a full circle. Cradle to Cradle is the global standard for products that are safe, circular, and responsibly made. So you can look to this website and find products that might be useful in your project and know which companies are certifying their products to be really good solid waste contributors. When you talk about corporate responsibility, these are the companies dealing with that. So what I can say to you is, if you think creatively, if you practice, everything is a resource and nothing is waste. If you measure results, if you use the available tools, I'm confident you can revolutionize future cities. You can indeed create cities of the future that are resource efficient, regenerative, competitive, equitable, resilient, connected, with high quality of life and zero waste. Ambitious goals, but that's why I'm excited about what you're doing and why I'm delighted to be part of your project today. I hope this is helpful. And with that, I'd be glad to take questions from you. Thanks so much.
So if anybody has any questions, if you could please put them in the chat. Mark, thank you so much. That was a really awesome conversation. I'm familiar from my position working at a university with the USGBC. We do have a number of LEED certified buildings, but I, had no idea what this next step was. So, I mean, it's really fantastic.
Thank you. I'm delighted to have a chance to answer any questions and maybe hear from the students. I'm curious why they decided to take on this project. So maybe we can have a dialogue with both their questions and that. Are there questions so far?
No questions in the chat so far. If there's a student who wants to ask a question, you want to go off mute to ask your question, please feel free.
I know it's always intimidating to think about getting on a Zoom call, but what you might help me with is, why did you decide to take on a project like this? Maybe one of you can, even if you don't take your camera, maybe just unmute and tell me why you thought this would be a good project to join.
I thought it would be cool to think of new ideas like 100 years into the future. Like things will be so developed. And
that's great. What a challenge. I see someone else said, I thought it would be cool to come up with new ideas for future city. Wouldn't it be great to be able to help design a city that you really love and can live in and be proud of? So I think this is a great project for you. Well, I hope the things that I talked about were helpful to you. I know that it's hard to think about. I don't know where you are in your thinking about the project. Are you just beginning? Have you begun to think about what you want to focus on?
so far we're just designing. We haven't started like building it, but we're coming together, like our group, St. Andrew School. We have a pretty good design, so we're going to start soon.
I know you have to build a project, but you also have a narrative to do. And so I hope some of the ideas that I gave, for example, on the benefits, might be helpful for you to think about. So you've got a chance to make it a powerful story that you're saving not only the environment, but you can produce jobs and help health, help productivity, and improve the economy at the same time.
So there's a question in the chat from one of the teachers. You mentioned lists of companies that are great with zero waste initiatives. Are there companies that really need to make changes to their policies?
Well, there are virtually everyone, even the companies that like Tesla that are already doing a lot. There's still more that can be done. We're just tapping the start of this. When you think about chemistry and all of the enormous things that you can do with new materials, I think it's just phenomenal to think about how the future is going to be able to be developed. And companies will start adopting better strategies that will help their bottom line, that will help their productivity, their profitability, as well as being good stewards. So a number of companies are there, but everyone can do more. And you can do some in your own schools. I know you probably have thought about this, but is your school a good example? Are you recycling? Are you composting? Is your cafeteria just throwing food out? Or are they figuring out a way to deal with that? You might be able to think about ways of applying some of this in your own schools and lives. If your family has a business, ask your parents how they're operating their business. Are they being good social stewards? Are they being good solid waste managers? This is your chance to be provocative and to just say, I'm doing it as part of my class assignment.
Just to clarify, so you mentioned like how a philosophy or a way of thinking we need to have is that everything is a resource and nothing is a waste. So we should have that as like the core idea when we're building our city and when we're writing the narrative, right?
I like that. I think it's a fundamental part of it because if you really think about it, you have to design materials to begin with and then make sure they don't go out to the landfill. So if you think everything is a resource, nothing is waste. Nothing is waste. You don't want to throw anything away. You want to figure out how do you make that useful, reuse it, have materials that could be recycled. And so I do think it's a fundamental way of thinking about it.
I don't see any more questions in the chat. Does anybody else have anything for Mark?
Again, you can go to the websites that I provided and get more information on each of these. I hope you do it. I know it's always a bit of a burden to have to follow up on some of those things, but I think it's useful to see some of that. When I did a project like this, I would have loved to have those kinds of resources that can help direct me and give me some other background. So I wish you well. I'll look forward to being part of your chats and be happy to follow up in any way I can.
So we'll have Mark's list of resources on our website as well. And we're also going to have the recording of this presentation on our YouTube channel, which you can get to from our website. So if anyone was not able to, any of your classmates or other schools were not able to participate today, they'll still be able to listen to the presentation. Also, our next presentation starts at 12. So if anyone is interested, we have another Zoom room set up called Ask an Engineer, where we have two of our future city volunteers who are both engineers to just ask them any questions that you have. All right, looks like we've got one more question here, Mark. Can you see it in the chat?
Yeah, how would we implement these strategies in cities where they are still working on the other steps? Because everyone has to do this to fix the whole problem. It's not an either or, it's a both and. You can do both things. And many of these strategies, they're already doing. It's a matter of maybe doing a little bit more. Sometimes it's a matter of rethinking and deciding you want to do it the right way. So it's not easy, but I think cities are always working hard to find better ways of doing things. And what you can do is help show them some of those better ways of doing things. By example, I think the peer-to-peer ideas, to be able to show other cities that are doing some of that. Look to Hoboken for that food recycling program. And there are any number of other activities like that that you can learn from other cities and other examples. So it's both and, do it at the same time. You can't wait. This is too important to do.